我想可能还是要先从，可能大家都会问你关于李安导演的问题。先直接问你是爱他还是讨厌他
？I love him dearly. Yeah, I think we might have to switch microphones. There we go. That's better, huh? I love him dearly, but
爱他，但是
the thing about working with Ang is there is no harder worker in any part of the film business. I've never worked with a director who is so tireless in just digging to get to the truth and the essence of the story. And the thing that he pushes all of us so very, very hard, and so we hate him a little bit for that. But we love him because there's no one he pushes harder than himself. And he is feeling all the pain that we are feeling. And on some films are very difficult, and some are easy and some are, well, actually, are any easy? Okay, no films are easy, but some are less painful and difficult. But Ang has always been a director who's gone for the deep challenge. He's done things that are very dangerous, and Life of Pi, and sometimes they don't work, and sometimes they're incredible gifts to humanity. And Life of Pi is one of those, but it was a film that everyone said, this can't be made. In fact, originally the book was written, people said it can't be made. Then various directors had the rights to it, one being, many of you know this already, but anyway, M. Night Shyamalan had the rights, and he gave up, he couldn't figure out how to make it, and then I got a call from Ang Lee saying, this was just after he got the rights, so he hadn't even had a script, he didn't have a script, he didn't have any shooting plans or anything, and he said, well, you are going to be doing the score for Life of Pi. You were born to do this because it's a Canadian book and you're Canadian. It's about India and you're married to an Indian woman. So you have no choice, you're doing it. And I have to admit, at the time I felt very frightened because I'd read the book immediately when it came out, being a good Canadian. And I loved the book, and I just thought, there is no way. I remember clearly closing the book and thinking, there is no way that will ever be a film, and thank God, it shouldn't be. It's perfect as it is. And so when he called me, my heart honestly started pounding, even knowing that it would be years until I started writing music for it. So that was a long answer, but the answer is, I think, yeah, I mean, I love Ang deeply. He's my friend as well as my collaborator, but he has pushed me to some very dark places. And I sincerely mean that, like places where, very dark places of facing your own failure, facing your inadequacy. Yeah, but, you know, having, in not every one of those cases, but in many of those cases, being able to break through that and actually solve something that was difficult or impossible, seemed impossible, that is a gift too. So it's a very complicated answer. Next question.
简单翻译一下，很爱李安，但是也讨厌他的原因是呢，因为他是我们在电影圈没有看过这么不遗余力的去挖掘故事的核心跟精神跟生命的这个人，所以他也会把我们逼到死路，逼到绝境去，让我们非常的痛苦。可是同时我们又非常的敬爱他，因为他也跟我们一起共感这个痛苦，共感这个难过的过程。那所有的电影其实制作都是不容易的，可是在这个制作当中，我们必须要去不断的突破。如果真的成功了，有些东西拍不出来的，但如果拍出来了，就是对于人类最好的礼物，整个社会最好的礼物。像是少年派这件事情， 但李安之前其实本来有别的导演是有机会拍摄的，但大家都觉得这拍不出来，拍不出来。可是李安他拿到这个机会的时候，还没有拿到剧本，他就打电话给我，他就说你要做这个配乐，因为你是加拿大人，这是一本加拿大的著作，而且你娶了印度的老婆，那这个作品里面有印度的连接非常的深，所以一定是非你莫属了。那我心脏其实跳得非常快，因为我自己在看《少年派》这本书的时候，我觉得它是一个完美的书，怎么可能被拍成电影呢？但我现在却要帮他写配乐，那我们后来也把它真的制作了出来。所以李安这件事情跟他合作，就是他会逼你去你生命最黑暗、最深层的角落，去面对你的不足、你的缺乏，但是要一起突破、一起走过。所以说这是一个很复杂的答案，也是一个很长的答案，所以不好意思讲了这么久，谢谢大家。
I bow to you. That was amazing. Maybe you made it. Of course, I don't know. You may have just made all that up. It had nothing to do with my answer, but that was
可
impressive.
能刚刚都是我掰的，不是他讲。
Yeah, I think if you know, when I work on a film, the first thing I do is talk a lot with the director and do a lot of research. Before I write anything, I try to really understand, build a rapport with the director and really understand what the story is on the superficial level, but also on a deeper level. Why are you taking 2 or 3 years of your life to make this film? What is it that is forcing you to do this? What is at the essence, if you had to sum it up in a sentence, why are you making this film? What is it you want people to walk out of the theater feeling or knowing? So these are the kinds of questions that, as a composer, you begin with before you even think about music, and all of the answer, and that's the thing, when any art form or music or film or anything, it's all just a series of decisions. So I have a blank piece of paper in front of me, and then I have to decide, is it treble clef or bass clef? And then I have to decide, is it A or A flat or B? And then the next note, and then is this 3/4 time or 4/4? So there's just millions of decisions. But if you really understand the story, and you really understand the director's view of the story, all those answers will come to you, based in that. So that's where you have to start. Everything grows from that seed. And so I spend a lot of time, understanding the story, getting inside it. When you do that, and then of course you come to the point where you're actually writing music, and but to answer your question, when you do that, when you immerse yourself so deeply in something and you think about it, you dream about it, it does affect your life, but also there's some other weird things that happen in life, or at least have happened in my life, where the film comes to me at a time where it's just exactly mirroring my external life. For instance, I did this film Monsoon Wedding, and it just by coincidence, it was the year that I got married to an Indian woman, and I did not plan that around the film, just to be clear, and Mira did not make the film about my wedding, but it happened. So I went to India to record the music for the film, and my bride-to-be came so that she could do the shopping for her wedding. So it was very strange. So there's moments like that where it's just very weird, and that's one instance, and there's many of how things just are intertwined.
讲到创作的时候，我一开始其实会去跟导演他们深聊，去建立这个关系，去认识他，去了解他为什么想要拿生命里面的2年、3年来拍这一个作品，想要带给观众什么，让观众离开戏院的时候又带走了什么东西，这是他们生命的一部分，所以我去跟他们挖掘这个东西。因为艺术的创作其实就是一连串不断决策的过程，像你在创作的时候面临的是一个空白的纸或者空白的布，那你在上面你要画高音谱记号还是低音谱记号呢？要几拍呢？要什么调呢？都是一连串的决策过程。可是你了解这整个导演他的精神，他想要传递的作品是什么的时候，这一切是很自然的浮现跟自然的流泻出来的。所以在生命当中有很多这样不同的经验。那回答 雷小姐的问题的话呢，刚讲到的是说困住的这种经验，比较面对到的是比较特别的是，有一些作品刚好是反映了我人生外在的生命，比如说在做雨季的婚礼的时候 ，Monsoon Wedding 的时候，那个时候刚好我要跟我印度太太结婚。那个时候不是我规划好的，可是刚好我就为了要制作配乐要去印度录音，那刚好我太太也可以到未婚妻也可以到印度这边去采买结婚需要用的婚礼的东西，所以刚好有一些内外的映照，我觉得这只是其中一个例子，其实还有很多其他的例子。
My earliest memory is listening to my father sing in church. So he was he studied classical singing, and yeah, that's the first thing I remember hearing. And I never wanted to be anything else except a composer. And it's interesting because I heard him singing, but I wasn't interested in singing. I was interested in who made that thing that he was singing. And so from an early age, I listened to a lot of classical music, and I was trained Western classical and sang in choirs and so on. And then when I was a teenager, and I went to college to study music in Toronto. So I grew up kind of just outside of Toronto, Canada. But Toronto at that time had a very strong immigration policy and a multiculturalism policy, which still continues to this day, where the government very actively tried to bring in as many people from kind of as many different countries as possible. And in Canada, for those of you who know it or have been there, and I always think of Taiwan in a way as the Canada of Asia, which is a compliment. But it's a really successful multiculturalism in that people are not, by and large, threatened by each other. It's more of a sharing of, it's more people are interested. That's your dance form, this is your music. And so people go out and they listen to it. And so I started getting exposed to this music I'd never heard before. I was also very interested in early music and historical Western music. So those are kind of the main influences before I went into film music.
最早的时候启蒙算是小时候在教堂里面看着爸爸唱歌，那爸爸学的是古典的演唱，所以那个时候听着他演唱，我却不想走演唱，我想要做的是作曲，我一直就想要做作曲，不想做其他的，我想要知道这个背后的创作人是怎么样去做出这个东西，所以后来也研读了西方古典的作曲，那也在西方的这些比较古典的演唱的合唱团里面有演唱过，那有这样的经验延续着。那我是在多伦多郊区的地方长大，加拿大的多伦多。那换句话说，另外一个角度就是，我觉得台湾也很像是亚洲的加拿大，这算是一个赞美吧。因为加拿大的多伦多这个地方其实是很拥抱多元的各种的民族或者是多元的主义，能够让各种不同的意见兼容并蓄，那有很多很多不同的影响在其中。那也就是让我有了不一样的接触，那持续的创作作曲到现在。
Well, once you have a concept for the music for a film, and you've decided that you want to work with musicians that are non-Western, non-orchestral, let's say, if we took an example, so if we say, and I think The Sweet Hereafter was played here this week, I think. Okay, so The Sweet Hereafter, so there's a story within the story of the Pied Piper, the legend of the Pied Piper, which is a medieval European legend about a piper who comes from the outside and plays this beautiful magic flute, which just mesmerizes the children, and he's getting his revenge on the village because they haven't paid him, so he takes all the children away by playing this flute, and they follow him. So that's kind of the story within the story, and we decided that the musical score should actually score that story, not the bigger story that we're kind of seeing on the screen that's happening in present day, but to score this story within a story. So then we decided we needed medieval music, European music, so I contacted the Toronto Consort, which is a group plays early music instruments in Toronto. And then I wanted a piper who would be exotic to a medieval European, and a Persian flute would be perfect for that. So I contacted the Persian flute master, Hossein Amumi, and I flew him in and brought him to Canada and recorded him. So the answer to your question is, if I use sampling, generally not. Generally I work with players, and most often I like to go to them or bring them to me. I like to learn, so if I'm working with Armenian musicians, I could stay in Los Angeles where there's a great many of them, but I flew to Armenia and worked with them there, because I think, you end up, it's not only educational, I like also giving back to the culture where this music came from, so to be able to pay people there, keep the culture going. But also, there's something indefinable that you kind of get from the source that comes into the music. And the reason you chose those instruments to be in the score, there's something about the essence that you want to capture. And I find from a sample, you're just not going to get it as directly.
在创作的时候，要先知道这个作品的调性，或者说要适合什么样的东西。那有了这个定义以后，你就知道要去找什么样的音乐，去寻求什么样的配乐的方式。那像是在一个作品是《意外的春天》的《Sweet Hereafter》，这场也有放映。那在这个作品里面，他要呈现的一个故事其实是魔笛的故事，就是大家知道那个笛手，他觉得被这个村庄背叛，所以他复仇的故事。可是表面的电影其实有另外一个情节。那我们那个时候就决定配乐要描绘的是魔笛的故事，所以用魔笛的故事来作为电影的衬乐，可是却不去用配乐来描绘整个电影的剧情跟情节。那这里面就需要有一些中世纪的元素，而且又要是对欧洲人有一点异国的、有点特殊的。那时候我们就找到了这个波斯笛。或者说伊朗笛，这个 Persian flute 这样子元素，那我们就把这个大师飞来多伦多，那我也请了伊朗这边不是多伦多这边的管弦乐团，那我们一起来做不一样的合作的方式。那我想要做的事情，其实有的时候是把人家飞过来，或者是我们实际去探求，那不一定是用采样的方式，因为采样有时候没有办法得到那么真实或那么真的当地的，没有办法符合到故事的元素，所以我也很喜欢做的事情是实际的走访当地，也就是到那个地方直接去找那个地方的大师，或者去跟那边的音乐人录制。那这也是一种我认为回馈给当地的音乐或者是文化的方式，因为你付款给那个地方，让那个文化或者那个音乐可以继续传承的继续下去。那我就是用这样不同的方式去追寻世界音乐，再整合到作品里面。
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm curious. Are there musicians here, composers? Put up your hand if you're a musician or just curious.
朋友可以举个手，好奇而已。
A few, okay, very few. Well, just to get technical a little bit though about working with musicians, working with because usually, of course, when you're writing a film score in Hollywood, you simply write it, orchestrate it, the notes go in front of the players, and they play them. And you might tell them, play that a little more, or play it a little less, but that's it. It's all there on the page. When you're working with non-Western musicians, some of the kinds of music are improvisational, like Indian music. Hindustani music is basically improvisational within, of course, a network of rags and so on. So what I do is that I'll educate myself as much as possible within the system. I'll know what rag I want, I'll know what instrument, I'll understand the rags as best I can and know that that's the mood I want and kind of the pace I want, and then I'll work with the musician face to face and say, okay, I want rag desh, but kind of slowly, and then I need it faster here or whatever, and just kind of work with them like that, and kind of improvise it together out. And then sometimes on Monsoon Wedding, some of that score, because I worked with Bombay musicians who are used to having scores put in front of them, not the classical guys, but the filmy guys in Bombay. So for them, I would say Monsoon Wedding is a score that was 80% written out for the bansuri, sitar, and all that. So they had an actual score, but then there might be, okay, but playing this rock here for a bit, but here's your notes otherwise. So it can vary. It depends on the project again, but generally, I try to go further towards them than have them come to me as far as systems.
其实这个很好的问题哦，比较技术一点点，可是我们想要跟大家分享的是说，在好莱坞其实大部分的时候，很多真的都是在录音室写好了一个谱以后，请作曲家或者请演奏家直接演奏出来，那我们可能就看着谱说，这边感情多一点，或者哪边再少一点，这样子调整。可是我比较倾向特别是跟非西方的音乐工作者合作的时候，是去跟他们面对面的谈。跟他们了解他们的音乐跟他们乐器的特质是什么，那借此来聊出说，我希望这边可以用怎么样的呈现或者演奏的风格方式，比如说印度的这个 rock 这样的乐器，那它要怎么样去呈现会是最好的方式。所以我比较倾向是去找他们，跟他们对谈，去了解，去聊，而不是说要他们直接就着谱。那像是在雨季的婚礼这个作曲里面呢，这个配乐里面大概80%是写好的谱。那剩下的20%其实是有点是聊出来的，有的是即兴的发挥，那即兴的去了解彼此，那知道怎么样去创作才是两边共同可以达到想要的成果这样子的方式。那我们也有跟这个庞贝这个地方的作曲演奏人合作，那就是用这样子的方式来达到我们想要的比较适合的配乐结果。
So when I was nominated for Best Music Score for Life of Pi, John Williams was also nominated that year for Lincoln, and so I kept meeting him at all these events. And so every time I saw him, I felt really embarrassed that I had said those things, and they're in a book actually. But he is a really nice man. He was very kind and generous to me, but he, and I didn't start out to be a rebel or anything. I just wasn't interested in film music. Growing up, I would go to the theater and watch movies like everybody, and the music didn't really, it wasn't the kind of music I was interested in. It just sounded like late romantic music that was just kind of over the top and corny, so I didn't like it. Now I have to say, now looking back, I have a very different view of, now that I've kind of educated myself and having written a lot of orchestral scores, yeah, I feel very differently about some of those composers. But for me, I was very lucky to come in the way I did, which is in Toronto, in a place that didn't have the pressure of being in Hollywood. If I grew up in Hollywood, I never would have been a film composer because I wouldn't have wanted to do what film music was. But I grew up in Toronto. I started in the theater, and in the theater, there's no money, so you can do whatever the hell you want because there's no pressure, because no one cares. No one can tell you what to do because they're not paying you. So we would experiment and have fun, and we would mix these kinds of music that weren't supposed to be mixed, and just experiment. And yeah, so the person that, Atom and I were in theater together, and then went to film together, and we just continued that spirit. So to me, I wasn't writing film music, I was just continuing the theater music that I was doing.
在我被提名奥斯卡最佳配乐的那一年，是为《Life of Pi》配乐。那一年同时也被提名的就是 John Williams， 他被提名的是为林肯做的配乐。那我也遇到，大家可以想象，在那个场合，就我们会常常遇到，因为相关的活动什么。那他真的是一个好人，或者说，那我有时候也会觉得有点后悔，当时讲的这个话，而且被写在书里面，所以大家都知道我对他的一些言论或者是想法。可是越来越参与深以后，我对的配乐其实有不同的看法。因为小时候其实跟大家一样都是看电影，但是看电影的时候音乐没有特别感动我，我就觉得那很像是浪漫时期晚期的音乐， 而且过头的版本，那就是非常的陈腐，就是都是那个样子。可是现在越做了越久以后，看了更多的不同的配乐的谱以后，我也知道为什么会有一些作曲家会有这样子的决定跟这样子的选择。不过我觉得很幸运的是，我小时候以前是做剧场，但剧场没钱嘛，所以就不会限制你一定要怎么去配乐。那像是如果我是在好莱坞长大的话，我可能就不会有现在这样子的配乐方式，因为在多伦多那边我们都是做剧场的，没有人有权决定你要做什么，我反而就是去写我喜欢的音乐，去实验，去做不同的剧场配乐。那我就没有心里既定电影配乐应该是什么样子，所以有了这样的自由发展。那我跟伊格言合作的时候，我们其实也是在做剧场配乐，也就是说，我一开始在写配乐的时候，我没有觉得我这次在做电影的配乐，没有特定的这个既定的框架去做，那才能够继续去延伸、继续去发展，直到现在。
可以再多谈谈好莱坞吗？就是你有没有遇到？我知道就是会有很明显的差别吗？比较 artistic 这个艺术性比较高的导演跟这个商业性比较高的导演，他们工作的模式是不同吗？还是其实跟每个导演的个人的个性 personality 比较有关系
？Well, I think everything is on a scale between, pure art and pure commerce. Because films cost so much money to make, there's no film, or very, very, very few, that are all the way over just pure art. So everything is some combination. Some are deeply cynical, just 100% for the money. We don't care about anything else. But most of them fall somewhere in here. And then the other thing is that on Hollywood films, on smaller, more independent films, it's really just a relationship between the composer and the director. You have a conversation with one person, here's our concept, and it's a collaboration. You feel like at the end of it, it's you share the score, you and the director have written the score together. And on a bigger film, a bigger studio film, there's a lot more people involved. So often you'll end up playing, people will come to your studio to hear the music that you've written, and there'll be 8 people in the room. So there'll be the director, there'll be 1 or 2 producers, there'll be someone from the music department of the studio, there'll be, the music supervisor, the music editor, and so that you can easily have 8 people in the room, all of whom you have to make happy, even though somebody might say, oh, it's too sad, and this, oh, it's too happy. You need to make it faster, you need to make it slower. So you get 4 completely opposite notes, and you have to somehow make them all happy. And that's one of the biggest skills of being a composer, is dealing with people and coming up with a concept, but also selling it to people and making them feel confident that you can do it. So that's what I would say, is that it really is a kind of sliding scale. The more money is involved, the more people are worried all the time, and there's a lot more stress. And the less money is involved, then again you feel that freedom, because hey, you guys are only paying me $10 an hour, so whatever. Like, if you don't like it, so fire me, I don't care.
我们可以把艺术跟商业看成一个光谱啊，它是有一个没有那么绝对，没有那么极端，没有绝对艺术的电影，没有绝对商业的电影，很多时候是落在中间的，只是那个比例而已。那像是电影花这么多的钱，所以它一定也要平衡一些商业的价值，它才有办法回收。可是有趣的是，我们跟比较独立的制片或独立的导演合作的时候，感觉是一个1对1的合作，是一种对话，感觉是我跟导演一起聊完以后创作出来的这个作曲或者这个配乐作品。可是当这个是大制作、大公司的时候，常常现场是有很多意见、很多声音的。可能现场有8个人在那边听我的音乐，导演1、2个制片、音乐总监还有剪接师等等。那每个人会给你不同的意见，可能说太难过了、太开心了，要快一点、要慢一点，4个完全不同的意见，你必须要有一种技巧去把它糅合在一起，最后创造出让大家都满意或大家都开心的。我觉得这个是作为电影配乐师最重要的一个很重大的一个技能。 那这个创作里面，你要结合大家意见，让大家都开心，是一个不容易的事情。那倒过来的话，如果跟独立的制片，他们可能1小时只给你10块美金，那你大不了就是说你就把我开除吧，不喜欢就这样子，因为这样子是比较没有那么的所谓的商业的利益在其中。那有商业利益的时候，大家大部分的时候是比较会去担心，会去想很多，那要糅合不同的意见，所以有这样子光谱的差异。
I'm just wondering, should we talk just for a moment about like the process of making a film score?
Yeah.
Just like a really quick, basic summary, just in case, because I see that most people are not in music department here. So, just really briefly, so you know, a composer is hired by the director to do the background music, the mood music, not the songs. That's a separate department, but the background score behind the action of the movie. So you then discuss with the director what kind of score it's going to be, and it depends on the budget. How much do you have enough money for a big orchestra or a small orchestra, or is that appropriate? What kind of movie is this? You then will, let's say that it's a big Pixar movie. So I just started working on a second Pixar movie. So it's a big budget. They want a big orchestra. I meet with the director, and we go over all the scenes, and they say, okay, we want music to start here and end here, and then restart here and end here. This piece should be very sad, and it's about this character, and he's leaving home. This is about this. Okay, he's really excited, but now at the end, he's frightened about this. Okay, so then after 2 weeks, I'll invite everyone over to my studio, and I'll play, maybe 5 or 6 cues. They're called cues, each of those separate pieces. And there'll be a mock-up, means that eventually it'll be played by a full orchestra, but at this time, it's played by a pretend orchestra out of my software, Logic Audio in my case, but there's many different ones. To mock up an orchestra, so I'll have fake clarinet, fake flute, fake strings, fake trumpet. I'll press play, the movie will roll, and you'll hear this fake orchestra, which they can imagine, oh yeah, this is going to be replaced with a real orchestra. And then they'll give notes, and then they'll say, oh, it's too happy, it's too sad, it's too whatever. And then I'll fix it, hopefully, and they come back the next week. And so we keep going that way until we all agree that it's done, or we've run out of time, or both. And then we record it with the real orchestra, mix it into the film, get paid, done.
在座因为很多不是音乐产业的朋友，所以简单讲一下这个电影配乐到底是在做什么。这导演聘请配乐师来做电影的整个所谓的 mood music， 就是整个电影的情调跟它的那个情绪的配乐，而不是那些作曲或者说原声带里面一首一首的歌，那其实是分开的，那是另外一个部门的工作。所以说我们在合作的时候，其实是先跟团队聊完，我知道我要配什么样的角色，比如说最近要合作皮克斯的第二个大合作，那就会有一些片段，那他们就会告诉你说，哪一段到哪一段需要配乐，那中间停下来不用，哪一段到哪一段需要配乐，我就知道，这边要配一个很悲伤的，这边很快乐的，这是一个角色在描述他的情感等等，这一段一段的我要做出来的东西叫做 cues， 就是 CUE 这个 cues 一段一段的，那去做出来以后，我会2个礼拜的时间，我去把它制作出所谓的 mock-up， 就是 MOCKUP， 就是一个模拟的电影产生出来，软体产生出来，我是用 Logic Audio 这个软体，那大家有不一样的软体，我用这个软体产生出来，比如说你会听到一个假的黑管、假的长笛、假的那个小喇叭，还有假的弦乐团，那整个做出来模拟声音，那2个礼拜以后我就请剧组团队他们来听，他们听了以后会给我不同的意见，那我要再去做调整，最后我们产出了完整版以后，再真的去请乐团去演奏出来以后，再把它咪到整个电影的音轨里面，最后就完成。所以说是这样子一个流程。那看不同的预算要决定请大乐团或小乐团或者什么方式去制作，所以大致的流程是这个样子。
Sometimes writing music for film is very lonely, and very rarely am I sitting in a room with a lot of people like this. Mostly I'm sitting in a dark room by myself for 12 or 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's generally my life. So working with my brother is fun, for one thing. So generally I've worked by myself, but when I started working on more animation projects, which I really enjoy, it's kind of a different way of writing music, and it's fun for a lot of reasons. The music gets to really express itself and be upfront. There's so many minutes of music to write that most composers have a lot of ghostwriters, but I don't really like doing that. The quality, it's hard to keep the quality, and then you just feel like a manager in a factory. It's just not as fun. And so my brother, who's also a writer, we work together, and I feel that way we can keep the quality up. Because we're brothers, we fight, and we argue, but it generally makes the music better. It always makes the music better because we challenge each other. If he writes a really great cue, then I feel like I need to step it up, and we try to outwrite each other. And so I think, and then the other nice thing, if we have a meeting and it goes badly and they hate everything, then we can make fun of them on our way home and make fun of all the people at the meeting, as opposed to being alone and then it's just sad. So yeah, that's why I like to work with my brother.
作曲家其实是很孤寂的，有时候是很孤独的。我很少像现在这样子坐在这么多人面前在共处一室啊。我常常是自己一个人在一个黑暗的房间里面做事，可能一天12小时、14小时，一个礼拜6天这样子独自去创作。所以跟弟弟一起创作其实是一个有趣的过程。那有很多原因啦，比如说或像我们接触到不同的案件，比如说动画片，那也是不一样的挑战跟不一样的过程。那跟弟弟合作的时候，因为他也是一个作曲家，所以我们一起合作的时候可以碰撞一些火花，有时候是一种竞争的关系。比如说他的这段 Q 写得比我好，我就觉得我也要上紧发条。那很多的一些作曲家，他们的做法可能会是请所谓的影子作曲家，就是这些写手来帮忙写曲。可是我不太喜欢那样子的做法，我觉得那样很像自己是一个工厂的经理，在管控不同的流程等等，我觉得那个也可能会影响到品质。那我自己比较喜欢自己去写、自己去创作。那跟弟弟一起创作的时候，彼此会讨论，会激荡出更好的火花。此外呢，我们也可以一起去开会。那开会回来的路上，可以一起去嘲笑一些会议里面不合理的事情，或者好笑的事情，或者好笑的人，而不会是也许会议不那么尽如人意的时候，自己一个人孤单的在那边落寞的想事情。
其实我刚刚听到，我觉得好像真的有传说是有一些影子作曲家的，好像是有些 master 一些大师级的，其他下面有很多人可以帮他做很多细节的东西。那所以这件事情是真的吗？然后那所以就是您
The answer is yes.
是的。
那我不要再问是谁好了。但是这件事情是可以多聊吗？还是说其实就是大家都是有共识的？
Well, I started, in Toronto in there are art movies, independent films. And of course I wrote every note, I did everything myself. And when I got to Hollywood, and started working on movies there, I was really shocked that people did that. But I understand, because the Hollywood studio system is, they're making a product that, again, it's that sliding scale, it's further over on commerce, and you need to get it done. I remember really clearly the first time I was on the Sony lot, and I was with my music editor, who's the person who the producer gives you to kind of cut your music and put it into the film. And we were walking, and he met another music editor, and he said, "Oh, you were on this film, blah, 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 blah. So how was it? And he went, oh yeah, it was good. We didn't have to work too many hours, and everyone was nice. Okay, bye. And I remember it, and now this wouldn't shock me at all, but at the time you didn't even ask about the film. Like, did you love the film? Is it a good film? They didn't talk about that. All they talked about was the business side of it. And that's kind of how the system is set up. So yeah, in order to, on the bigger films, there's a lot of music to be written. The picture changes all the time. The only way to catch up is to have a lot of writers. So yeah.
可以跟大家分享一下，最早在多伦多的时候，我做的这些比较偏向独立的这些制作跟音乐，都是当然我自己写出来的。可是说我刚来到好莱坞的时候，其实我很震撼，他们是用这样子的方式去产制或者说量产这样的音乐。可是我也可以理解，因为他们在制作的是一种产品嘛，那就是有一个时程要追赶等等。那有一次是我跟我的音乐剪接师一起来到了Sony 的片场。那音乐剪接师的工作就是把我们的配乐剪到适合的画面里面，然后把它配进电影里面去。那他遇到了现场另外一个剪接师，他们聊的是说，你也在忙那个 Sony 的片什么什么，然后他们就说，哦，对啊，怎么样？就是说，这个片还不错啊，不用工作太久，大家人都很好。好，下次见喽，拜拜。我很惊讶，那我当时就觉得他们怎么都没有聊片子的内容呢？没有说你喜不喜欢这部片呢？喜不喜欢这个电影呢？他们都在聊工作或者商业面。可是现在我当然不会惊讶，因为我先了解到这个流程了，所以说，的确是有这样子的情况跟有这样子的差异在。
Well, the only time I'm from a socialist country called Canada, so I'm embarrassed to admit this, but once, so after I won the Oscar, I had to stay an extra couple of days in Los Angeles. At the time I was still living in Toronto. I now live in Los Angeles. I've given up. I live there. But I had to fly back to Toronto, and they pushed us back onto a later flight, and then we were sitting, my wife and I were like sitting in the back row, and we weren't even sitting together. We were like, sorry, there's no more good seats, and I was really tired, and I went, really, are you sure there's nothing better? And then she went, no, I'm sorry. So then I literally did this. I reached into my bag, and I pulled the Oscar, and I went, do you think you can find a better seat? And because it was Los Angeles, she did. She just went, oh yeah, there's 2 seats in business class. Yeah. So that's the only time I ever did that, and I'm ashamed of it. So I apologize to everybody. But, I have to say there was kind of a downside to winning, which I didn't expect. In a weird way, it kind of shook me, and I denied it for a long time. But after a couple of years, I realized it, and then now I'm okay. But like you've heard how I came into the film business, I came in kind of in the back door. I felt like I was just playing in my own sandbox and having fun and doing things, and nobody was watching, and so I could do whatever I wanted. And then suddenly after that, I felt like there was a big spotlight on me, and it kind of paralyzed me. I kind of had a block for like a year after that, because I was afraid everything I was writing, everyone was watching. And so, yeah, that was the negative side of it. Yeah. Go ahead now.
Okay. 所以在赢得这个奖之后呢，那个时候我还住在多伦多，所以我在好莱坞要待了几天，那必须要再回到多伦多。我现在已经住在好莱坞了，就是洛杉矶了，已经放弃了，就离开多伦多。可是那个时候必须要待晚一点再回去，所以最后班机那个时候我跟我太太要搭的时候，他们说没什么好的连在一起的位置，只有剩后面几个零散的。我那时候就觉得很沮丧很累，然后我就想说真的吗？真的不行吗？我就从包包拿出我的奥斯卡的奖杯，放在柜台上。就说真的不行吗？那因为这是洛杉矶吧，所以后来那个人员就查了一下，说哦，商务舱有2个位置。然后我们后来就，我是唯一一次真的这样使用我的奖项，那我也觉得有点羞愧，所以要跟大家道歉。可是在此后呢，我觉得要讲到 得奖之后的影响不是没有，其实是蛮负面的。我经过一段低潮的时候，在得奖之后的1年，其实遇到了瓶颈。因为过去大家知道我刚讲我的背景，我是比较是实验的，那感觉是一个所谓走后门吗？或者说在我的沙盒里面玩我的音乐，那我不觉得大家会看，我就做我自己的事情。可是后来得奖以后，好像镁光灯照在你身上，我很担心别人会一直放大，一直去看我的作品，所以就反而什么事都做不了。那1年的时间其实比较低潮，那后来已经又走过来了，现在是好的状态。所以要讲负面的话，的确还是有得奖之后有这样子的一个阻碍存在。
So let me and maybe if anyone has any questions, would love to hear them, but just to leave you with the one last part of your question, which is if I would give any words. And since there's only a couple of musicians here, I'll say this for everybody. If you're a photographer or a writer, a director, whatever you are, an account executive at an advertising agency, whatever it may be, the thing that I learned in my career is all the things that have come together to make you who you are. And everyone takes a strange path in life. You start over here, and then you go this way, and here, and then you end up here. All those weird things that don't necessarily belong together, they're what makes you special and what actually, as an artist, makes you unique. And that's what people want. And so sometimes people think, oh yeah, but I played, saxophone in the school band and I'm kind of embarrassed about that, and now I just want to pretend that never happened, and and I was in a country music band, but let's forget about that. And now I'm, a film composer. Well, actually, those things are the things that make you special and give you a unique voice. And so you shouldn't be embarrassed or ashamed about that. You should actually embrace the thing that makes you different from the people that are beside you. And that's because actually what you might think that your experience is so specific that it won't apply to everybody, but it's the specific truth of what you have inside you that will speak to everybody. And that's what people want to hear in music or photography or art or writing. They want to hear truth, and they want to hear what's real. And so be true to that's in yourself. That was rambling and long, but good luck.
最后要跟大家分享，因为我们知道在座只有几位是从事音乐工作，所以我想要分享给所有在努力的朋友，包括是摄影啊、写作啊，或者创作，甚至是广告公司的小 A1，我都可以跟大家分享一件事情，就是有时候你会觉得你过往的人生里面很多迂回是不合理的，或者说对未来的所谓的伟大是没有帮助或绝对的关联的。可是其实就是这些迂回或者这些小小的曲折，让造就你的不同。那我们应该要拥抱这个不同。比如说，有的人他会觉得我在学校乐队表演萨克斯风，那是一个很羞耻的事情。我以后出社会，我就是不提这件事情，或者我以前在乡村乐团待过，那我以后就不讲这件事情。那我现在是电影配乐了等等。可是我觉得，其实就是这些差异，让你跟你左右的朋友有了不同，那就是这样子造就了你独特今天所在的位置。所以这些东西正是大家最想要知道的，这些真实跟这些独特，就是造就了你之所以为你。所以才珍贵，所以我要鼓励大家拥抱这个真实，也拥抱这个独特，那是只有你才有的，造就了你跟大家的不同。
That's a great question. There are many voters in the Academy Music branch, and yes, the responsibility is to hear as much as you can, so that you can make a fair assessment of what the best things are. Now, this year, there's actually a new change that the list is going to be narrowed down by a smaller group first. This is the first time that's ever happened, so it's interesting you ask that. So I don't know how that'll work, but I know in one sense it'll work better, that everyone will hear. The hope is that group that cuts down the list will listen to everything, cut it down to 15 or 20 or whatever the number is, which I forget, but it's a smaller number, and then the rest of us will be able to listen to every single one of those and vote for the best one.
谢谢您提这个很有趣的问题。的确，在影艺学院有这样子的评审过程。那今年有一个很特别的变化，就是我也还不知道会怎么样。就是今年改成是让一个小评审团先听过所有的作品，再选出决选的15到20部，我忘记确切的数字了。那我们的工作其实本来是尽力的，能听多少就听多少，但现在是变成让小评审团他们先选出一个决选名单，我们再去听所有的音乐，再做出选择。那刚好今年有这样子的变化。
And by the way, I have voted for John Williams.
顺带一提，我有投给 John Williams。
Yeah, okay, good question. So writing for TV as opposed to writing for films. And now, of course, those lines are all blurry because of streaming, Netflix, and so on. What's TV? What's a movie? People are not sure anymore, but let's pretend that there is still a difference between TV and film. The big difference is that in television there's a quick turnover. You usually have quite a bit of time to figure out the first episode. You might have a month, but then once the show gets going, you have between 7 and 10 days to turn it over. So you have to spot it, meaning you meet with them and decide music here, 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 here. You have to write it, then you have to get notes, you have to send your sketches in, you get your notes back, do those fixes, record it, mix it, and deliver it. So you might only have, you have 1 day to spot, you might only have 2 days to write it, and then maybe a notes, then a 3rd day to write it, and then you mix. So it's very fast. But it's really fun. I love writing that fast, and I love the fact that they only get 1 set of notes to give me.
我们现在讲到电视或者是电影的差别，其实已经越来越模糊了，因为现在串流、Netflix 这些东西的关系。可是我们现在先假设2个都大家是分开的好了，那2个还是有一些差异。那最主要的差异是制作的流程，像是电视有时候它制作流程抓比较紧，所以你在1个月前大概知道要写什么样的东西，有一个草稿，或者说先交出去。可是，在最后拍摄完成到最后要剪接的这个过程，很短的时间，可能7到10天内，或甚至有时候他们在给你一组的那个笔记，就是告诉你说哪些地方要微调跟调整，那可能只有2天到3天的时间。那我其实也还蛮喜欢这种很快速的挑战，要在短时间里面完成这样配乐的工作。可是我也很感谢他们最后整合了一个笔记给我，而不是有很多很多不同的声音让我去无所适从。
I'm definitely an expert on weird people working with filmmakers. It's a great laboratory for that. So 8mm, so I went to Morocco and recorded about 8 of these folk groups, and who are amazing musicians. It was really an incredible experience to be there. But the thing that drew me to the Moroccan music for that project was that this was a private detective, Nicolas Cage, who was involved in finding this this kind of very dark sex crime, and he kind of gets pulled deeper into the spiral, and it's just like kind of like this feeling of a whirlpool. And I really find that Moroccan music has that sense to it because it's sort of got this acceleration to it, and it's just kind of got this mesmerizing, this kind of hypnotic, mesmerizing quality that also has this acceleration to it. So it just seemed to really fit. So yeah, I think, you know, the surface level of that is one thing, but then you know, having disturbed characters in a film and how to portray them, yeah, it's something you have to be very careful about, that you don't want, you know, you might more often look for something unexpected about them, like the thing that makes them like us, like assuming that you and I are normal, which we may not be, but that makes them like a common part of common humanity. It might be more interesting to find that thing as opposed to building up the thing that makes them different, which already you can see on the screen. Sometimes music, it's more fun to do something that's different.
我常跟电影导演共事合作，所以这其实就是一个跟怪人合作最好的实验室啊，所以我很有经验，没错。那我们在这个创作的时候，像你提到8厘米这个作品里面呢，我用的是摩洛哥的音乐。摩洛哥那时候去录了8个民俗团体。那我发现到尼可拉斯凯奇他扮演的这个侦探的角色，要探究的是追踪一个案件，那有的时候很像一个漩涡的一个过程。那我发现摩洛哥音乐就有这样子让人迷眩跟漩涡，它有加速啊，或者是什么这样子一个效果，会让人觉得有点催眠的效果。那我就觉得非常适合把它使用在里面。那另外讲到关于描述这些很犯罪或者是变态的人的时候，我觉得其实探究的还是一个，你的确是要去揣摩他们的心境，要去描写出来，可是又不是要去把他们差异化，或者说做出特殊化，因为在描述的他还是跟我们可能表面上看起来是所谓正常，假设我们是正常这样子的大众这样子的人，可是里面又有一些殊异性在其中，而不是像，因为我们也知道音乐有时候它可以一开始就表现得很奇特，让人家一听就觉得怪异。那我们要做的反而不是这样，而是在一个大众的普适性里面描述出小小的差异跟殊异性。
I think everyone is weird. I think even people that aren't artists. But everyone is worth listening to and working with. So I think directors are so obsessed by their project that it's very easy to get them to speak about it. A director is a very specific kind of person. They have to be so focused and obsessed with an idea that they work on it for 3 years without rest. And all this time while they're working on it, people are saying, "No, you can't do it. You should give up. You should stop now." And they keep going and going. That's the kind of person that a director is. Most of us in this room have had great ideas for a film, but very few of us have that strange kink in their head that makes them not give up. And so it's something that's, kind of strange, but it's pretty amazing too. So yeah, I love directors for that. I love the fact that they're so focused and obsessed with something. So yeah, communicating with them is actually quite easy in that way, about the film anyway, at least that part. And I think musicians, when I talk to musicians, there's a common language of music. And again, I think the thing that anyone is obsessed about or has spent their life doing, that's easy to talk to them about. Talking to them about their personal life, I'm not going to do that, but yeah.
对，其实每个人都是怪人，不只是艺术家或者是创作人，每个人都有自己怪的地方、独特的地方，但也是每一个人都有值得聆听的地方，跟值得共同共事跟欣赏的地方。那导演这种人其实是一个很独特的存在，他们是一种连续要做事情就连续3年都非常投入在其中，不眠不休的，那而且非常的坚持。那身边的所有人都会跟他说，你这个东西不会成功，会失败，可是他们还是会有办法，脑子里面有这个很奇怪的癖好，有办法做得到。像在座各位可能对电影都蛮有概念、蛮有想法，也喜欢电影，可是我们在座很少的人会有那种坚持，会要用2-3年的人生去完成一个作品。所以我觉得导演他们沟通其实是容易的，因为他们有很明确的想法跟非常坚持的东西。那你就跟他们聊以后，他们就会谈谈他的作品，就会了解到要怎么样跟他们共事，跟怎么样去跟他们合作。至于去作曲家或者音乐人的话呢，他们也是我们有共同的语言，就是音乐。那他们有自己的坚持跟自己擅长的事情，所以要沟通起来也是非常容易的。可是如果要跟他们聊私生活的话，可能就不是这么一回事。我也不会一直想要去跟他们聊太多个人生活的事情。
You're talking about the death of Heath Ledger, is that right? Heath Ledger in the film Dr. Parnassus, which was directed by Terry Gilliam. Yeah, that's an amazing story. The film was more than half shot. They were shooting it in London, and they did all the exterior work. And Heath Ledger is the star of the movie. And so 2/3 of the movie is shot, and they had come back to America to shoot the interior, everything inside in a studio. Heath Ledger died, and the producer said, "Okay, that's it. The film's, we're just going to throw it away. the insurance will pay us, and the film's over. And Terry Gilliam, the director, said, "Give me this weekend. Let me figure this out." And so he called, 3 of the biggest movie stars on the planet, and came up with this crazy but very effective plan, which is that, without explaining the story too much, but Heath Ledger, when he goes through the Imaginarium, he now looks like Jude Law, or one of the other stars. So it actually works in the movie, and it's very strange. So Terry rescued the film from being thrown away. It did change the music a little bit, in that but it already was so fantastical that my brother and I were working on that, and we had to be careful to help the audience understand that this is the Heath Ledger character still, even though he looks different. So musically we had to be careful to kind of link those two things, but otherwise it works and it's fantastical.
您谈的是这个《帕纳大师奇幻冒险》这个很特别的那个 Terry 的这个导演的作品。那的确有一个故事。那当时是在伦敦2/3的外景都已经拍摄完成了，那准备要到美国拍1/3剩下的内景的时候，希斯莱杰就过世了。所以当时制作人就说我们要丢掉这部片，我们就拿保险金就没事了。可是导演说他想要救救看，他就说给我1个礼拜的时间，他就做了一件很奇妙的事情，他就把3大演员叫进来。所以最后呈现方式就是希斯莱杰到了这个地方会转换成像裘德洛的形象的样子。那我们在音乐上的确也是可能要有一些想法上的差异，可是当时的想法是，其实要保持一个让观众理解这个片的连贯性，就是虽然他长得不一样，但他还是希斯莱杰这个角色。那我是跟我弟弟 Jeff 一起在做这个音乐的，那我们最后就是用这样子连贯的方式，最后还是要让大家知道，虽然它呈现非常的奇幻，但也是非常成功。那我们最后是有保持了这个连贯性在里面。
Well, those are great questions, and when composers all get together, this is what we talk about, these things. So I worked on a film this year. I started in January. It was a studio picture, a Columbia Movies picture, and we were supposed to record July 4th weekend. And the reason I wasn't here last week is because it got delayed, and we recorded 2 weeks ago. So July, August, September, October, 4 months late. On top of, I have 3 other films that I'm working on right now, and it's right in the middle of that. It's the hardest part of our job, which is why all my friends that are film composers have weird twitches and they look older than they really are. And that's why a lot of people have these ghostwriters, because you end up in these situations where you have to write 20 minutes of music for one movie in a week, and another movie that delayed, you have to write 20 minutes for that, and it is impossible to do. So you have to, as a composer, you have to find a solution of how to do that. The people in the studios don't care how you do it. They don't ask you, when they delay a film, they don't say, "Hey, is that okay with you?" They never ask, they never say, "Oh, sorry, we had to move that." Never once do they do that. So you have to make it work, and it's part of the job. Being able to write music is about, I tell young composers this, I say that's maybe 40% of the job, but it's no more than that. The rest of it is being able to deal with people, being able to inspire confidence in the people you're working with, because there's so much at risk. You have a $150 million movie, you're handing the emotional core of it to some person, some composer. You need a lot of trust there, so you have to be able to let people know, yeah, I've done this before, it's going to be fine. So yeah, making things work it's constantly, like right now at home, in my studio, I'm working on so many things that are all collided on top of each other that I wrote a big poster with all the names of them on it so I don't forget what I'm working on. That's how bad it is right now. So I'll let you know if it's possible. Ask me in 2 months. So.
您刚刚问题非常好，就是我们这些电影配乐聚在一起的时候会聊的问题。那我们就是要面对到不同的档期冲突。比如说现在有一个作品是我今年1月接下来，是说我们在美国国庆的时候7月4号要录制，结果拖到2个礼拜前，所以我上个礼拜才没有办法来金马这边。那2个礼拜前才真的录制，你看这是3、4个月的拖延的时间，那就是会有这样的情况，而且同时我手头上其实还有另外3个案子在执行。所以我们必须要，所以可以理解为什么会有这种所谓的影子写手，就是 ghost composers， 他们你要想办法让事情顺利的进行下去跟完成交出来，就是这样子。因为有时候你要用1个礼拜的时间写20分钟的音乐出来，结果另外一部因为拖延了，延到这个礼拜来，你这个礼拜就变成要再写出20分钟的音乐，其实是蛮强人所难的一件事情，那很不容易的做到，所以要怎么样去协调跟工作是很大的一个重点。那我常鼓励比较年轻的配乐师或作曲人，就是说，你的写作、作曲、音乐创作只是工作的40%而已，剩下的其实是要鼓励别人，或者让别人对你有信心，也给别人信心，让他们信任你说，这个1亿5千万美金的制作，我要负责它的情绪核心，就是它的配乐跟它的音乐，那我是做得到这件事情的，我要让人家相信我真的做得到，那我也的确要交出这样子的功课，做得出来，所以这是一个很大的重点。那您刚提到最后一个问题，就是不可能的任务，我觉得如果我现在手头上的那个行事历是乱七八糟一条一条的，我都写下来，我很怕我忘记我现在在忙哪一个作曲哦。所以说，如果2个月以后你可以再问我这个问题，我可以告诉你我有没有完成这个不可能的任务。
And just to answer one more thing specifically, you can write a composer can write maybe 2 or 3 good minutes a day. I can write 10 minutes if you like in 11 minutes I could write 10 minutes of music, but to write good music, and a day is, my days are at least 12 hours long, probably 14. My usual day is 14 hours, and so 3 minutes is pushing it. So 3 good minutes a day. So you can add that up. If a movie has 60 minutes in it, so it's going to at least take 3 weeks minimum.
也分享一下，刚刚说到说，其实这些制片公司他们拖延的时候，其实不会跟你道歉，他们就觉得这是很正常。那你要自己想办法把它做完。那我自己的流程，其实一天大概工作12小时、14小时，通常14小时，大概可以写出10分钟能用的音乐，就11分钟里面我写出来10分钟能用的音乐。可是，一般的作曲其实大概一天可以产制好的音乐，大概是2到3分钟的音乐。那你就自己可以去算一下，大概要多少时间才可以去完成这个需要的配乐的长度。那是有这样子的一个时间跟大概这样子的一个工作流程。
我们今天的这个座谈就到这，我觉得Danna先生真的是给我们好多好棒的这个经验。对，我刚刚听到最后一段，我也收获很多。然后也非常谢谢大家今天来到现场。好像我们会有一个因为Danna先生他好像是不是手受伤，所以没有办法签名，如果要签名没有办法，可是。
待会我们因为当先生的手受伤，所以我们待会不让各位做签名这件事情。但是他待会在外面会愿意跟大家合照，所以如果大家要拍照的话，待会我们在背板前面会等候大家这样。大概是这样。谢谢老师。那真的非常谢谢大家的参与，你们真的是一群好认真聆听也好会问问题的乐迷跟影迷啊。那刚才先生也提到，他这次来到台湾真的是非常非常不容易，感谢你来。好，最后我们以掌声谢谢Danna先生，也谢谢杨导老师的主持，来谢谢非常。